What's up, you guys? So says the leader here. I decided to go back to the beginning for this latest excerpt reading, and I wish to say Happy Easter to everyone. By the time this video is uploaded, it'll be Easter Sunday, and I wish you all a safe and happy one. This book is the first one I wrote for my series, What is Destiny? And I'd like to read a few excerpts from it just to remind you how it all started. Let's begin. Okay, this excerpt introduces Heatheria Winchester and how she came to live with the family of Luanne, who was a neighboring family of Melania, where she would later come to live in. Let's begin. She watched via a large red stone as the dark-haired girl called Luanne sobbed into her pillow, venting her silent frustration on the man who was about to plan the celebration of her betrothal to Prince Orm of Luanne. I hate that Prince Orm, she could hear Luanne thinking now. Princess Luanne definitely has issues, she thought, as she received another thought from her a split second later. I hate this engagement. Then she could feel her thoughts become more spiteful. I hate my life, and I hate my father too! Then Princess Luanne burst into tears again and sobbed into her pillow. Poor Luanne, she thought, as the scene from her stone slowly faded away. A girl who chooses to follow her deaf heart, but is never appreciated. She sighed. I've been down that road a lot. I know disappointment, believe me, and I'm no stranger when it comes to rejection. Found on Castle Luanne's doorstep at birth, 12-year-old Heatheria, as she was called, was a child wizard prodigy said to be destined to follow in the footsteps of the wizards of Deloria before her. Here in the Luanne Tower, where she was a virtual prisoner, Heatheria had established a laboratory to perfect her magic powers. She drew her magic powers from the ruby of Deloria, which rested in the center of the room on a small wooden pedestal with clouds, swirls, and lightning bolts carved into its bottom. That precious stone she was careful never to let fall into the wrong hands. Inside the tower was a place fit for the best of wizards. Just to the right of the doorway leading into the chamber, several cupboards holding beakers of multicolored powder hung over a small marble-top counter. On a shiny ornate gold table at the far end of the room, a chemistry degree set neatly rested. And in the far corner of the room, a large leather-bound book lay open on its stainless steel silver stand. According to a dream about her birth mother, it was called the Talisman of Light. She never understood the name, but her mother told her she would when the time came. However, Heatheria didn't want to be a wizard, although she was told she came from a long line of them. All she wanted was to be a normal girl and play with other children her age from nearby villages. The only hitch was her foster brother, Prince Orm. When she turned 12 just a few months ago, he decreed that she would not leave her lab for any reason whatsoever. So she was now using the Ruby of Deloria as a special window to watch the outside world from her prison. Someday the day will come when I will be free from this confinement, Heatheria thought now. But now I'm a slave of the prince, ordered to do whatever he commands until he marries. She was hoping he would find a mate soon, because she was growing tired of his overprotective ways. Unfortunately, from the scene which she saw where Luanne was crying, she was thinking he failed again. Heatheria returned to her Ruby of Deloria and raised her hands over it. A golden light emanated from her palms, and the ruby sent a bright light into the air. In an instant, Heatheria could see Luanne again, Christine Wall. The dark-haired beauty's eyes were closed and her breathing soft and even. She had cried herself to sleep. Excellent, Heatheria thought. Now I'll have some time to prepare the potion the prince needs. As the steam faded from the ruby, she darted to her talisman of light and raised her hands over the book. The same golden light used on the ruby emanated from her hands again, and the pages shuffled by themselves with the help of the wind she was creating until she found what she was looking for. She smiled as the page read in large Old English type, "A potion to obliterate obstinacy." Heatheria searched her cupboards and cabinets, gathering different vials of liquids and beakers of powder for the spell. And it was very powerful, Heatheria reflected, because according to her book, her brother would only need one drop of the potion she was about to create in order for it to be effective. Anyone more and whoever came near Luanne would be infused in an instant with the obstinacy she would lose. So as you can see, Heatheria is a virtual slave of the prince and a virtual prisoner in the castle Laharia. But I'm sure if you read further, it will change for Heatheria. It will change for Heatheria gradually. Let's continue. This is the scene with the engagement party. This is where Luanne attends the engagement party along with Orem. Let's find out what happens. In a spacious room with a domed ceiling so high that one could hardly see it, many couples, all of them dressed in their most fabulous clothing, were dancing to a ballad being played by a string quartet, each of the 4 men and women dressed in black and white. Then the procession began. Everyone stopped dancing and turned to an ornate staircase as the string quartet started playing the anthem of Melania. First came the servants of either Melania or Laharia, a mix of men and women who were dressed in either blue velvet suits or red gowns. The men brought flags of red and gold, each bearing either the crest of either Melania or Laharia, of gold crowns surrounded in sunbeams. The women brought between them red and gold tapestries bearing either of the same crests. Then next came the 2 kings, Adamant of Melania and Goldmire of Laharia. They were wearing their best uniforms. Adamant wore a white velvet tunic under a sash festooned with medals. Goldmire wore a gold tunic and a matching gold cape threaded with silver. Adamant and Goldmire took their places opposite each other in front of the respective groups of servants. Then the big moment was about to come. The quartet was playing the chords of the anthem's final stanza. Everyone held their breath and waited. And then it happened. Princess Luanne made her way toward Prince Orem at the top of the stairs. He bowed to her, and she curtsied politely in return. Reluctantly, she offered him her hand, and he accepted it. Then, in unison, the twosome slowly made their way down the stairs into the ballroom. Luanne cast a sidelong glance at Orem. "Let me just say, I will never be happy with you as long as I live," she hissed. Unfortunately, he paid her no never mind. He just looked straight ahead, as if he were ignoring her. "Oh, why am I not surprised?" she thought. "It's the story of my life. Everyone ignores my wishes these days." Orem and Luanne made their way into the center of the ballroom as the guests bowed and respected both of them with "Your Highness." In the center of the ballroom, the couple joined hands with each other, and the string quartet started playing a slow ballad. Orem started sweeping Luanne around the dance floor. "And another thing," she murmured to Orem, "I can feel you breathing. It just makes me feel even worse." But Orem only swept Luanne some more as the quartet played their second movement. "Let me lead this time," Luanne suggested. Orem nodded, but he seemed not to hear her. Just in case, I'd better remind him who's the true heir to our kingdoms." As Orem swept the princess around again, her left foot wound up and found its target, his shin. Orms winced and his face wore a grimace of pain, but unfortunately, Luanne realized he didn't let that stop him, and he swept her around as the song neared its final stanza. Luanne frowned at Orm, but he seemed to be ignoring her again as he swept her around some more. "I said," she repeated through clenched teeth, "let me lead this time." This time her high heel slammed down upon his big toe. He grunted in pain as he almost crumpled to the dance floor just as the music reached its coda and came down to its final notes. Luanne took this chance and she dipped on toward the dance floor. But suddenly she let him slip out of her hands, accidentally on purpose, and he hit the dance floor with a grunt. Everyone had seen the incident. Soon there were titters, then chuckles, and finally loud laughter. Orm looked around the room, and his face flamed red as everyone roared with laughter at his misfortune. "Oh, I am so sorry," Luanne said in mock sympathy. "Did I drop you as I dipped you? I'm such an airhead." She extended her hand. "Here, let me help you up." Orm reached for her hand, and Luanne started to help him up, but halfway there, she let go, and he fell back to the floor, causing the audience to erupt with more laughter. "Oops!" Luanne squeaked, a phony sweet smile crossing her face. "Butterfingers me!" she chuckled mischievously. "You did that on purpose!" Orm accused her. "Who? What?" Luanne innocently put a hand to her chest in mock horror. "Oh no, Orm! Why would I grab you on purpose? You know a princess would never do that, at least not for someone as wealthy as you." Before Orm could form a retort, a bell sounded in the distance, signaling the dinner was about to start. Then the guests filed toward a small door leading into the palace dining room. This time Orm cast a sidelong glance at Luanne as they walked with the rest of the guests. "Let me just say, you better at least pretend you want to marry me, or the minute we are wed, your country is history." Now that's my favorite scene in the entire book, because Luanne has proven that she's not going to take this engagement lying down, especially considering she was forced into it. Let's continue. Okay, this is what happens after Luanne is transported to Heatheria's tower. King Adamant is about to find out that his daughter is missing. Now, let's read. At dawn the next morning, King Adamant knocked softly on the sky blue door to his daughter's bedroom. "Luanne?" he called tentatively. No answer. "Luanne, honey, are you all right?" Still no answer. She must really be asleep, he thought. Slowly, so as not to wake Luanne, he eased the door open and peeked inside. To his amazement, he saw that his daughter's bed was empty and unmade. At that sign, he walked down the hall and headed toward the palace courtyard, meeting Facet on his way. "Facet," he said, "have you seen Luanne?" "Not since last night, Your Majesty," Facet replied in his British accent. "She must still be in her room, resting." Adamant shook his head. "I just came from her room. Her bed was empty, and it wasn't even made up. I know Luanne's irresponsible, but not even she would leave her own bed unmade." "That is unlike her," Facet agreed. Suddenly a thought came to Adamant. "Facet, do you think," he began. "I think you believe she..." Her voice trailed off. "What?" Facet asked anxiously. "What is it?" Just then he seemed to read his master's mind. "You don't think she was kidnapped, do you?" It wouldn't be the first time I thought of that. Your Majesty, Fastman said reasonably. Even if that were the case, there would have been a ransom note delivered by now. No, I'm sure she went out riding or headed off to the forest like she normally does. It's barely dawn, Latimer reminded him. And Luanne's not exactly what you'd call an early bird. Then maybe she was kidnapped, Fasten reasoned. We need to find her. Assemble the soldiers and have the paratroopers prepare their winged flyers. I want every able body involved. At once, Your Majesty, said Fassett. Then he bowed and left for the area where adamant soldiers trained for combat and war. So this is as any parent would worry over their children. Adamant is worried about his daughter, and he wants to make sure he can find her safe and sound. Let's continue. Okay, this scene takes place after Luanne receives an invisibility cloak, and she and Heatheria are working together to create the antidote for the potion she drank. Let's read. Out in the meadow beyond the forest, human-shaped footprints left behind in the grass moved forward, although no one could be seen to make them. In reality, it was Princess Luanne walking, while protected from view by her invisibility cloak. According to Heatheria, the only place tea leaves grew was in a remote farm somewhere beneath the densest forest, and that was where she was heading at this moment. What a perfect day for a walk, Luanne had thought happily, as the air was cool and fragrant with the scents of flowers and fruit trees. Then she sighed. I'd enjoy today if I didn't have something important to do, she thought sadly. And just beyond that hill, a little before the noonday, the princess walked up a grassy hill and saw in the distance a wooden fence surrounding a small house and a number of medium-sized barns not too far from the house. Luanne's pace picked up as her footprints appeared faster and faster. On a closer inspection, she saw a herd of sheep, female sheep, or ewes, grazing in the pasture behind the barn. Perfect, she thought. I can get the ewe wool here as well as the tea leaves. But first things first. She approached the farm and the house and climbed the porch steps to the front door. She removed her cloak, folded it up, and knocked softly on the door. A moment later, the door opened slowly, and a stout man with a graying beard stood in the doorway. May I help you? He asked. Greetings, kind sir, Luanne said politely. I am but a humble royal from the kingdom of Melania, seeking something for a friend. Would you be so kind as to contribute your best tea leaves? Well, I don't know, his voice trailed off. It's all for a good cause, sir, Luanne reassured him. I'm making a special recipe for my father, and it won't be complete unless he has your special tea leaves to make his drinks. Well, it's for your father, I can't refuse, the man replied with a smile. Wait right here and I'll get you what you need. The minute he disappeared back inside the house, Luanne put on her invisibility cloak and disappeared from view. Then she carefully descended the porch steps. The cloak hit her body but didn't silence her footsteps, and approached the sheep pen. Bleating softly so as to calm the ewes, she took out a pair of small scissors, approached the nearest ewe, and started humming a lullaby that her father sang to her when she was little. The ewe fell asleep almost instantly. Luanne, holding the scissors carefully so as not to disturb her, Luanne started snipping away at part of the ewe's wool. She had managed to cut a little wool from the sheep's back when she heard a low growl behind her. Luanne froze in her tracks as she heard a snuffling noise, almost like an animal checking for an unusual scent. She turned her invisible head around enough to see a medium-sized wolf come her way. Please don't pick up my scent, she urged the wolf desperately via ESP. Please don't pick up my scent. Please don't pick up my scent. To her relief, the wolf veered from her position and headed for a wayward sheep trying to escape the pen. She sighed instantly as she returned to the farmhouse with the U-wool stuck in her pocket. She removed her cloak just as the stout man returned with a small glass jar. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to keep you waiting, but I haven't cleaned my house in the longest while, and I can't find anything in here and there. But here are your tea leaves, no charge." Luanne hesitated before taking the jar. "Are you sure? I'm really sorry if I took up too much of your time." "It's okay, miss," said the man. "Not many people come out here because of my remote location. I'm grateful for the company." "Well, thank you for the tea leaves," Luanne said, and turned to leave. "Goodbye, kind sir," she called over her shoulder. So, as you can see, that was where Luanne met a farmer who gave her tea leaves, and while she was on her journey, she also got U-wool for the antidote for the potion she drank. Well, I hope you enjoyed this excerpt reading that I shared with you. If you like what I see, like, comment, share this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Also follow the links in the description. Each of these books I read is available on Amazon. So if you want to know more information about them, feel free to check out my author page. This is So Says the Leader signing off. Peace out.